When people think of Julius Caesar, the image that often leaps to mind is one of power incarnate, a towering military leader, a symbol of masculinity, a man whose very name evokes strength and ambition. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, why do we celebrate a man who toppled the Democratic Republic of Rome, who turned his back on centuries of civic tradition in pursuit of absolute control? This hero worship isn't just misguided, it's dangerous, and it reveals just how little we understand about tyranny and why it's a poison to freedom. The worship of Caesar didn't start in his lifetime, but his genius for propaganda set the stage. From his military conquests in Gaul to his infamous crossing of the Rubicon, Caesar cast himself as the embodiment of Roman destiny. His commentaries on the Gallic War were less a military report and more a political campaign, painting him as the indispensable hero of Rome. But let's not forget what these victories cost. Entire populations were slaughtered or enslaved, cities burned, and Rome itself paid a price. The erosion of the values that had kept its republic intact for centuries. In today's cultural landscape, the quest for masculinity, purpose, and identity has taken center stage, particularly as societal norms evolve. Julius Caesar is often portrayed as the epitome of masculinity: bold, ambitious, decisive, and unyielding. From modern self-help movements to political rhetoric, Caesar's image is invoked as a symbol of strength and resolve. Yet, this portrayal often strips away the complexities of his character, reducing him to an idealized version of power without accountability. This fixation on Caesar as a masculine archetype ties into a broader narrative where dominance and success are equated with personal worth. Figures like Caesar are idealized by those searching for a sense of purpose in turbulent times, but the reality is far more nuanced. His ambition was fueled by relentless self-promotion and a willingness to undermine the Republic's foundations. Modern audiences must question whether such qualities truly embody strength, or if they simply glorify a destructive pursuit of power at any cost. Tyranny isn't just about wearing a crown. It's about consolidating power at the expense of the people, and Caesar was a master of this dark art. By the time he declared himself dictator for life in 44 BCE, the Senate was little more than a rubber stamp for his ambitions. He dismantled checks and balances, silenced dissent, and began to treat the state as his personal fiefdom. Rome was in a dire situation when Caesar took control. Decades of corruption, political infighting, and economic inequality had weakened its institutions. The Senate, once the cornerstone of the Republic, had devolved into a body of self-serving elites more concerned with personal gain than public good. Caesar exploited this dysfunction masterfully. He used bribes, intimidation, and propaganda to sway public opinion. His largesse, from public games to land reforms, appealed to the masses, while his political rivals were either neutralized or eliminated. He even manipulated religious offices, reportedly bribing auguries and priests to secure favorable omens, further cementing his image as a man of destiny. Threats and lies were tools in his arsenal. For instance, Caesar's reports of his military victories often exaggerated his successes and downplayed his failures, creating a myth of invincibility. Tyranny, at its core, is the concentration of unchecked power in the hands of one individual. It undermines the principles of shared governance, erodes civil liberties, and often leads to oppression. A democratic republic thrives on balance, a distribution of authority that prevents any one person or group from wielding absolute control. Caesar's rise marked the unraveling of this balance, as he turned institutions designed to serve the people into tools of personal power. Marcus Tullius Cicero, one of Rome's greatest orators, warned of Caesar's ambitions long before the Ides of March. "The Republic," Cicero wrote, "is nothing without its laws, and the laws are nothing without the Republic." Yet even after Caesar's assassination, the myth of his greatness endured. Shakespeare immortalized him as a tragic hero in Julius Caesar. But even in that play, there's a chilling moment when the mob, fired up by Mark Antony's funeral oration, transforms from citizens into a mindless force of destruction. And isn't that the real danger of hero worship? When we put one man on a pedestal, we risk losing sight of the principles that matter most. Liberty, justice, the rule of law. Tyranny thrives not because of the strength of one man, but because of the collective weakness of those who let it happen. If you think Caesar worship is ancient history, think again. Modern leaders have invoked his name and modeled their rule after his legacy, cloaking authoritarianism in the guise of strength. Consider the rise of populist demagogues who promise to save their nations by consolidating power. They invoke Caesar's decisiveness, his charisma, and his disdain for ineffectual democratic processes. The pattern is clear, and the results are chilling. For example, Benito Mussolini, Italy's fascist dictator, openly admired Caesar and sought to emulate his legacy of centralized authority. Mussolini's propaganda machine drew direct parallels between ancient Rome and his vision of a new Italian empire. Similarly, Napoleon Bonaparte modeled himself on Caesar, even crowning himself emperor in a ceremony that mimicked ancient Roman rituals. Adolf Hitler also drew inspiration from Caesar, studying his strategies for consolidating power and employing propaganda to craft his image as Germany's savior. Hitler's rallies, with their grandeur and spectacle, echoed the public games and events that Caesar used to endear himself to the Roman people. More recently, leaders like Donald Trump have been accused of embracing a Caesar complex, with rhetoric emphasizing personal strength, disdain for institutional norms, and promises to restore greatness by bypassing traditional checks on executive power. The myth of Caesar as a savior leader perpetuates the dangerous idea that democracy's inefficiencies can be solved by one man's unchecked authority. Tyranny, whether ancient or modern, relies on this falsehood. It appeals to those disillusioned with the slow, messy processes of democratic governance, offering instead the illusion of stability and progress under a single strong leader. But history has shown us that these promises often lead to the erosion of freedoms and the rise of oppression. So how do we dismantle the cult of Caesar? It starts with education. We must teach not just the facts of history, but its lessons. We must remind ourselves that strong leaders are not defined by the power they wield, but by their commitment to justice and equity. And we must expose the dangers of tyranny in every form, from ancient Rome to today. Consider how history's greatest thinkers have viewed Caesar. For every admirer like Napoleon Bonaparte, who saw him as a model of conquest, there is a George Washington, who deliberately stepped down from power to avoid becoming a Caesar. The choice is ours, to idolize the man who destroyed a republic, or to learn from his mistakes and build a better future. Thank you for joining this exploration of Julius Caesar, not as a hero, but as a cautionary tale. At Renaissance Spirit, we believe in pursuing a just, equitable, and humanitarian world, drawing lessons from history, politics, and the arts to enrich our understanding of today's challenges. Ancient Rome offers a powerful lens for examining the modern world, highlighting the dangers of tyranny and the enduring value of democratic ideals. The Renaissance was a golden age of discovery, reason, and truth, a spirit we strive to embody. By embracing knowledge and compassion, we can become better stewards of the earth and one another. So, live the Renaissance spirit. Subscribe, explore, and join the conversation. Let's ensure history remains a guide, not a ghost. And don't forget to take the quiz. Are you a Renaissance spirit? Together, we can build a world worthy of the ideals Rome once aspired to, but failed to protect.